Hello world, I'd like to give you an origin of the history from pre-slavery up to now. Today is August the 11th, Saturday afternoon. I'd like to give you the Nall's history and the origin of our history and our slave masters. We came from a Nall family by the name of Nathan Nall, which was a Caucasian German. He had 8 boys. He had one son named Nathan Jr., one named Frank, one named Charles, Ted, Oscar, and Nathan Jr. He had 2 boys named Nathan, the last one named Nathaniel. He picked up some slaves from all over the country. They traveled around. They had a lot of gold. They was kind of into gangstership. They was very rich men. They came to North Carolina. They picked up some slaves. The first one they picked up, name was Mac Nall. That was my grandfather's name, Mac. He was a minister. He used to speak, he used to preach to an integrated church in Alabama. The Nall slaves brought us from the Carolinas to the Mississippi line. Certain parts of it was connected as Alabama, Fayetteville, Alabama. Well, back in the days, when they came to North Carolina, during the Civil War, the Yankees robbed them, killed the old man, and killed Nathan Jr. They couldn't find the other boys, 6 boys. They buried their treasures out in the ocean, out in the river. But during the time that the Yankees killed them, they shot a little black girl. So one of the soldiers of the Yankees felt real bad. Before she died, she forgave him. He told him that we wasn't trying to kill you, wouldn't shoot you. After she said that, she said, "I forgive you," and she died. And from there, the rest of the people took the rest of the brothers. They found the rest of the brothers. They never did give up where the treasures were. And they was also killed. The other 6 brothers killed. Because some of the people squealed and told them where they were. They was on a hunt for them. So all of them got killed. But the slavers took care of the mother, the white mother. They took care of her. And as they had children left, they took over the rest of the slaves. First, that was Mac Nall, named after the slave. He had a son named Brady Nall. Mac Nall was a minister. He had a church there in Fayetteville. He also had an integrated church at that time. back in the 1800s. If you can notice, we go back from Europe. We are in the book, in the new book, from 1669 on up through the 1800s. During that time, Matt Nall had a son named Brady, which was my grandfather's father. My grandfather's name was J.T. He had a brother named J.R. Well, they lived in Fayetteville, Alabama. Fayetteville, Alabama. My grandfather, J.T., worked in a mine. He established a union back in the 1800s in the mine. So he worked in the mine till he retired. He was tired of it. He had what they call a black lung from coal mine. So he decided he'll go in business for himself. So he had a farm. He made a little money in the mine. He had a farm. He had cows, goats, and ox, and also mules and horses. He had too much work to do for himself, so he hired people to work for him. He used to ride, the reason he retired, he was tired of it. He used to ride ox and mules. He was a mailman. He used to deliver mail for people. He used to go all over Alabama on an ox and a wagon. He bought his first rocking chair. And he put that rocking chair in that wagon that he rode on so that he was comfortable. He met my grandmother, which was a hill. Her name was Nancy Hill. She was from an educated family. They had a little small school. She was a teacher. That was educated. They didn't have the type of high school and things that we had today. But he took money that he made pretty good money. He was a butcher. He sold hogs, cows, meat to the commissaries. He made about $200 a week off of that. That was a lot of money back in those days. He met Nancy at a church, which was my grandmother, my father's mother. He married her. Since she and her other 4 sisters was educated, he built them a school in Fayetteville, Alabama. It became the name Institution College. And they educated people back in those days. He was also a union member. So he had my father, first son, which name was Charles Nall. He was a doctor. He became educated and a doctor. His next son was a businessman, had his own money. His name was L.B. Nall, Lonnie Nall. His next son was my father, Clinton S. Nall. The next was his sisters, Henrietta Nall, Madeline Nall, Letitia Nall, Baby Nall was Dorothy Nall, Odell Nall, And she had other children had passed in the future. I don't have their name. But they came to Alabama. My father met a mother, my mother, as a young girl. She went to Parker, which is now Parker High School in Birmingham. It was an industrial high school at the time. He met my mother and married her. In 1927, he met her. She went to Tuskegee. He was already in Tuskegee. He left Tuskegee his sophomore year for New York to become a Pullman porter. That was a great job for a black man in those days. They conceived me in 1930. I'm now 2012, 81 years old talking to you now. My father had 13 children. Me, Clinton, Stacy Nall, sister Jacqueline Nall. We was born in New York City. My mother got pregnant after we two was born for Barbara Jean Nall. She came to Birmingham. She left New York with us, pregnant with Barbara. She was born in Birmingham in the Hillman Hospital. She conceived another child, Wallace Virginia Nall. After Wallace Virginia Nall, she conceived a son, Hyman Earl Nall. After Hyman Earl Nall, Charles Frederick Nall, which was named after Dr. Nall. The next year, she conceived another son, Otis James Nall. After Otis James Nall, she conceived another daughter by the name of Beverly Jo Nall. After Beverly Jo Nall, she lost this child at birth from an enlarged hall by the name of Cynthia Nall. She didn't live but 6 weeks. After Cynthia, she conceived another son by the name of Reginald Nall. And the next son, the 13th child, was named Ronald Nall. And I'm the oldest of all those kids. Now, I went in the Army. I finished high school. I went in the Army 1952. I stayed in the Army for 5 years. I came out of the Army to one of my aunts, Anna Williams, my mother baby sister. I got married. I met a girl by the name of Juanita Creech. I stayed in the post office for 4 years in Steubenville, Ohio. I left Steubenville, Ohio to come to California. I resigned from the post office because they told me I was having domestic problems, and they told me at the post office they couldn't transfer me because there wasn't any openings for me in California. So I went to work in a nightclub with different bands.